episode of our press room series. This is what I'm calling it now, as often as I can do it. Our press room series of course, the breakdown of Emery's press conferences ahead of the games at the weekend or in the midweek, of course. And this week's a big one, it's fair to say. It's a very, very big one because Arsenal are going away to Liverpool this weekend, which is obviously a huge fixture for Arsenal and Liverpool needing to keep up their lead ahead against Manchester City and obviously the title race. And of course, Arsenal wants to keep themselves in as much of a top four fight as possible. It's mad talking about a top four fight just the third game into the season. Maybe there isn't a fight. We don't even know yet because we won't know till a little bit later on. But thank you ever so much for tuning in. Of course, we are live. And so therefore, the people have tuned in live can access our live chat. Obviously, if you want to join with these live chats, all you need to do is basically turn on those notifications. So next to that little subscribe button is a little bell. And if you click that, it will tell your device exactly when we go live. So you can tune in with our live chat, just like Ashwin Watkins has done there by saying evening Watkins. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. And you can tune into our live chat and ask questions and get involved and plenty of other stuff. But let's basically get straight into what you are here for. But of course, before we do, I do want to say and plug a quick thing, which was that I was with Hugh Izzy earlier today talking about Josh Kroenke's comments ahead of obviously this game, and he talked about the January transfer window, the summer transfer window, the budgets, how the Kroenkes are dealing with everything. So of course that was all on Hugh's channel, so please do go on to Hugh Wizzy after you've watched this and check out that interview and that breakdown with Hugh. It's some really good stuff, so please do go check that out. But of course you are here to look at the Emery press conference is what we're going to break down. So on your screen now you can see the every word from the Arsenal boss Unai Emery just said on Liverpool, Mesut Ozil, Matteo Guendouzi, VAR, everything. Thanks to Football London and James Benge for being there and basically breaking this down so we can know exactly what was said. So thank you for tuning in. Feel free to ask questions and do it as you basically comment. So we've got Willie 1886 in here. We've got Tayyip Hussein in here. We've got Charlie. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, people. Much appreciated. I hope you're not commenting while driving, Charlie. That would be bad. Don't do that. Let's start there and read through what his comments are and react to some of the latest information. So, first question: will this game show where Arsenal are? Good afternoon or good evening. It's a choice. I'm not going to do that accent for the whole thing. It's a big challenge. Each match is a big challenge, and each match is for us to prepare best as possible. You'll notice how I struggle to read Emery's words in this broken English. The idea is to continue creating in our way and style. We need to be strong, and also we can recover some players to be fit. I think we are closer to achieving everyone being ready to play, but we need some more time. For Saturday, we are in a good spirit, and our players are ready to play with big ambition to do something important. So I didn't really answer the question of what was asked. In terms of what I think of this, I think it will show where we are. I think it will show where Liverpool are as well, because we both played two teams that you would expect us to beat. You could argue that Arsenal started more impressively in some aspects, especially in terms of the clean sheet away from home. Liverpool haven't managed to keep a clean sheet so far this season. And of course, the win against Burnley was sort of a banana skin for Arsenal as well. I think that the Liverpool game will show us exactly how strong this defence is, and it's certainly going to be tested at Anfield. Will the team need to be more conservative at Anfield? Emery says it's a big stadium with a big atmosphere, and I want to play every match in our amazing stadium with our amazing supporters in our home. But we need to play away and face big teams with big supporters. I think the motivation for us is very big. We are going to have some Arsenal supporters helping us, and it's a big challenge. It's going to be a different game to Burnley because the team is different. So, again, very obvious answer. It's a bit weird because I feel like the media has really latched on to this idea that Emery said if he couldn't play Liverpool, he wouldn't. And that's been a bigger story than it's really needed to be, I feel. Emery saying that if he couldn't play Liverpool, if it was his choice, if it was up to him, he wouldn't. Wouldn't anyone? Well, if you've got an opportunity to make your season easier, that's what you would do. So I don't really know why the media has latched on to that comment by Emery earlier on the weekend. Moving on to some chat about injuries, of course. But thank you ever so much for the people that are tuning in. Richard's tuned in as well. Frederick, thank you ever so much. Jack Perry says the same thing every week. Good evening. We want to play in a big way with big performance and have balance. Yes, he does. He does seem to repeat himself quite a lot. And it's actually the questions on players specifically that I enjoy most, because we may be getting some insight that we don't have to hear from him every single week. Will Granit Xhaka and Mesut Ozil be available? Tomorrow is the last training session, and we are going to decide tomorrow. Today they trained, but really I need tomorrow to have the last training to be really sure how we can be better there. I know some players need to be fit and improve 100% to be at their best fitness, but tomorrow is the day. Really, I am positive with some players for Saturday, but I don't want to decide today or to say to you today how we are because tomorrow can change. Now, when we ask Emery, when a journalist asks Emery on injuries and on players, they're usually, especially for a Saturday kickoff, they're usually always press conferences with another day of training at least still to happen. And so that's the same answer that we get all the time is we'll basically have a decision tomorrow. We'll never know. The only real thing that we can glean from that is, of course, that Ozil and Xhaka are now training fully, which is great. Xhaka from an injury, Ozil from a very unique situation for security reasons why he couldn't play the last two fixtures. Would I start Mesut Ozil against Liverpool? Well, based on his record against big sides away from home, probably not. I'd still stick with Sabas as that more advanced midfielder. But I still think that Ozil can offer us something this season, especially in those games that we need him to create in, especially at home against some of the smaller teams. We lacked a bit of creation against Burnley. Those are the type of games that he can be really lethal in. In terms of Xhaka, I would bring Xhaka back in if he's Xhaka back in. I'd bring him back in if he was fit enough. I think that we lacked a bit of speed in passing against Burnley, and with Xhaka in the side, I certainly think that he adds that to the team. I know that divides a lot of opinion, and I know whenever I mention Xhaka, there are rafts and a plethora of comments in the comment section saying Xhaka's not good enough, and that's it. And that's fair enough. You're entitled to your opinion on it. I think it speeds up our passing a bit. Yes, some of it is risky. Yes, he's slow on the turn in terms of his actual movement. But in terms of his passing, I think he adds something. I actually think that if you watched our tactical breakdown of Danny Sabas against Burnley, he was spreading the ball a lot. And actually, he had to do a lot of the job that Xhaka would usually do. I feel with Xhaka in the side, you might see a more free and fluid Sabas than the one we saw against Burnley. I think that's something that Arsenal can certainly improve with. Brandon says that Ozil didn't play against Burnley because he was sick, not because of security issues. Yeah, there was a sickness thing, agreed on that. And I think that we've seen this sickness thing with Ozil. And the reason why I mentioned it being the security issues is because mentally, Ozil has been rather fractured at Arsenal at times. And sometimes Wenger turned around and said that it was sickness. And I don't 100% agree with it being sickness. It's a very broad term. So you could argue that maybe it was a cover. Obviously, that is just purely speculation. But there's the opportunity for that to be. Ashwin says that Xhaka would lose the ball. Akine says that Xhaka will just kill Arsenal. Melissa says that Xhaka is too vulnerable. He gives the ball away so easily, that might cost us. See, this is what I'm saying. I completely agree that Xhaka can be loose with the ball sometimes, but a lot of our players have been loose with the ball, and they don't get as much stick as what Granit Xhaka does. I just think he speeds up our passing a bit. I think he adds security to the likes of Torreira and the likes of Guendouzi and Sabal. So for me, I would play him. He's 100% fit. If you wouldn't, that's fair enough. You are entitled to that opinion, of course. Is Ozil recovered? He says, I think he needs to be fit. And also he is training as normal with the team. I think this is the first way to achieve that fitness. After that, to help us with his capacity. So Ozil's not starting. It's what we can glean from that. Ozil will not be starting the game against Liverpool. What will this weekend teach you about Arsenal? We really are in a very good position, but we only played 2 matches in the Premier League. We are going to play 38 in total. I mean, nothing gets past this guy. So really to be in this moment with the possibility on Saturday to achieve first position is amazing and a really big possibility. Again, the broken English is a struggle sometimes to interpret, but I think we can pretty much take that as we know that only in 2 games this season so far, we haven't been able to learn too much. If you watched my Eyes of the Opposition episode I put out yesterday with Stay Hoare of Redmen TV, both myself and him, who is a Liverpool fan, agreed that both Liverpool and Arsenal are yet to really show their true colours this season. Whether they'll do that at Anfield, I don't know. I hope it's us more than them, but we're just going to have to wait and see. We know it's only the beginning, but we can be positive and optimistic for that match and wishing to show our moment against them, but knowing that it is going to be difficult, but it is a very big challenge and a very big opportunity for us to do something. I predicted 2-2. I think there is a chance that we can get something from this game, whether we do or not. It's obviously all down to the type of performance we put in, and hopefully it's going to be good, but I'm under no naivety that Liverpool are a fantastic team and could absolutely destroy us and have the capabilities to do that. So that's always a possibility. And that actually segues into the next question, which was, how will you make sure there's no repeat of the 5-1 defeat? He says, each match, each moment, each season is different. We can use last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but really it's about our moment and this moment. Anfield is a big atmosphere with their supporters. They are a very good team, and they're advantage for us in their progress and in the last years. A very strange sentence. In Anfield, they have one step more in feeling strong, but it's not for us, it's for all. We need to take our best performance and go there with a good feeling, and also thinking we can achieve that performance individually and collectively to be strong and to have our chances. We are looking forward to be going there and showing that. So you've got even me putting the word be in sentences when it shouldn't be there. But we are looking forward to going there and showing that. I think that it's a tough game. It's just as simple as that. It's a tough game. We can be all positive as we like and optimistic, but we know that we're going to have a real big struggle against Liverpool. How impressed have you been with Matteo Guendouzi? He says, we have a lot of young players and they can develop a lot. We are going to help them, to push them, and also they need to break different levels and achieve individually in their performance. We are here to help them and give them their chances. Matteo is very young, but he is a talent, and his talent is also to adapt to what we need or what is needed in the Premier League. It's also to be physically strong. We are working tactically and individually to improve, and we are going to be working with him with the videos and on the pitch. We are speaking to him because it's a big challenge for me, for our coaches, and for him to achieve a big level here. He is in this process. Last year, for me, he was very good in his process, but he missed a lot to achieve in his career. I think he means progress. I know what he's saying by process in his sort of development. Development's probably the best word. In his career, the big performances and big moments for him and to help us. Really, I'm very, very optimistic with him because he is a talent, and I think we can also improve him in other things. Like physically, we are working with him in the gym, and mentally. He's a young player with potential who can now help us to achieve the best performances. Matteo is a very slight player at this moment in time. He's tenacious, and he's definitely enthusiastic. But I think in terms of his stature, he does need to gain a bit of weight in terms of muscle. We've seen it with Joe Willock. Willock has really, really beefed up. We saw it with Christian Bielik, unfortunately, before he left. He really beefed up as well. And I think Matteo needs to go through that same process. If he is, he can obviously react with the physicality of the Premier League much better. And I also think he needs to add a bit more offensively to his game. Yes, I know he's a solid centre midfielder, maybe even arguably more of a deeper one. But I think he needs to add something more going forwards, creatively, finding those spaces in between the lines, making those incisive passes, even adding possible goals to his game. We saw against Burnley that chance he had. Could have taken that shot a bit better, raised it a bit, tested the keeper a bit more. But I think that ultimately he's doing really, really well. And I'm very happy with his performances so far. What do you make of the recent abuse of footballers on social media? Very interesting question. I have them because it's important to be close to the supporters and the people to give them information, individual and collective, from me and from the club to be closer to them. The social media is you. If you can't control it, if you don't use it positively, it can be negative. I only use it when I think it can give me some good information or help me in some opinion. But really, when people cannot control the social media, it's not positive for us. I think he may have missed the point of that question. Of course, we know there's been some awful stuff regarding racism on Twitter. If it was down to me, I completely agree with what I think Frank Lampard said. Everyone should need to identify themselves on Twitter with a driver's license, passport, whatever. I think that if you've got an excuse to be racist by the fact that people can't track you down, that's too much. Racism is a zero tolerance thing, and any excuse to allow people to do it by basically allowing them to be anonymous is a joke. And how can it be called social media? Social is talking about the interaction of people, and you're anonymous. It shouldn't work that way. And I'm very much an advocate that you should be identified on social media no matter what. And it should be done that way so you can be held accountable for your actions 100 million%, because ultimately only cowards hide behind their avatars and hide behind the fact that someone couldn't find them necessarily without their identification being on there. And it's a joke, and it shouldn't be allowed. What have you made of VAR? He says. For me, VAR is positive. It's coming to help us, to help the referees, and to be fair in different circumstances in one game. After this, I think it's also right to not stop the intensity and the rhythm in the matches, and not to stop for a lot of minutes. This is going to be something that's going to improve gradually over time. I think we know that. I think we know that gradually the speed of these decisions will improve, and it's going to be a learning process for the technology. It's going to be a learning process for us. But it will get better, and I'm a massive advocate of it. And I think that there is huge potential in this technology. But as he says, the good word, and he uses a good word in here, is the rhythm of the game, the rhythm and the flow of what we witness as a supporter and what the players are involved in. I mean, what we saw at Spurs and Manchester City, like, that wasn't down to VAR. That's down to there being an absolutely ridiculous rule in the game. If it brushes someone's arm and leads to a goal, yes, in the current rules, that's handball, and it was rightly ruled out because that's the rules, but that rule needs to change. And it's as simple as that. And it needs to be a clarification on what that is and a justification as well. We always went on about how we need to clarify the rules in football. But not only that, but we need, as supporters, as staff members who work for the clubs, and as the players and the playing staff, they need clarification and justification for the choices and the rules that are made. Let's jump into the chat box quickly before we tune in. I feel like I've been neglecting you a bit. TJ says, you lot don't know what the 12th man is like. You lot probably never went to Anfield. Interesting. I think you can completely tell what the 12th man is like at Liverpool, and it's amazing. I think that it adds a different dimension to their game, 100%. But to say that someone can't glean from that if they haven't been there, well, I don't agree with that. Evening, Omar. Thank you for tuning in, mate. Wilson says Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang have to start for us as front three. That's an interesting one. I think we're going to talk about Pepe in a little bit. Willie says praying Emery doesn't hold our attack back by being too conservative. Matt Hales says Unai must go with Torreira, Willock, and Ceballos in the midfield and start Pepe with Laka and Alba if we want to win at Anfield on Saturday. David, the student, I wonder what your occupation is right now, says that he's watching from Seattle. Thank you for tuning in, mate. Super Saber says, bit too busy to tune in live. Just came to like the video. And thank you for the great content, Tom. Cheers. I'll check this out later. Thank you, Super Saber, for tuning in. I really appreciate that. And if you're not watching currently now, you'll see that I've recognized you on playback. Matt Hale says to Torreira, Willock, and Ceballos, none of this Guendouzi Xhaka nonsense. Really not a fan of Guendouzi. That's surprising. Selavi says that, hi, Tom, good show. Do you think that Xhaka and Ceballos could complement each other? And that could lead us to a better version of Xhaka. I think they could. I think they definitely could. I think Xhaka provides that added sort of security for Ceballos moving forwards, and I think that's definitely going to benefit us. Let's carry on with what we're talking about then, which is, of course, our press conference. And the question came in and says, how have you helped Nicolas Pepe settle in? He says the most important thing is like a person to help him and his family to feel comfortable here. Now he is 3 weeks into working here with us. He didn't do the preseason here, but he's progressively feeling better. That which is obviously positive. For example, in the first match, he played 15 minutes in Newcastle, then 45 minutes against Burnley. I think his individual performances are progressively getting better. For Saturday, he is maybe ready to have more minutes. Does that mean he'll start? That's interesting. I'm going to decide this tomorrow, but really his progress has been positive and has been good for the team and for him. The most important piece of the adaptation is to help him to feel easy and be comfortable with us. I think that we have a strong chance that Pepe will start against Liverpool. Is it the right game to start him? It's debatable. You could say yes, you could say no. You could say yes because we need all the help that we can get in terms of getting a guy in with real quality. Is it the best guy to start him in for the very first time in a very high-intensity game? You could argue no. Maybe we should bring him on at half-time again. I know that everyone on the majority would like to see Alba, Laka, and Pepe start from the beginning, and I'm in agreement with that. Whether you then go for a different system at the back by playing 3 and wing-backs, playing with David Luiz, Chambers, and Socrates, which is something that's a possibility. But it would then mean being more conservative with your midfield choice, leaving you with only 2 in midfield, playing a 4-2-3 or a 4-2-2-1, of course, it's a choice. But it means that you lack that sort of that build-up in the midfield. You lack that edge, you lack that security to be more attacking. Whether we do that or not, I don't know. I would personally still go with the back 4. And I know that we're going to concede. I say I know. I'm nearly 100% sure that we are going to concede against Liverpool, which is why I've gone for a 2-2 prediction. But if we want to get anything more than just none or 1 point in this game, we need to attack. And we can't quite simply just not do that. So moving forwards, it's important that we play offensively and we hit them on the counter when we can because they're vulnerable at points and we can use that to our advantage. I'm going to wrap things up now, guys. Just before I go, I want to obviously check out some of your comments, but that rounds off the whole of the press conference. So obviously you can go check that out on Football London if you want to reread through that. Richard says, hi, Tom. Could you tell me what formation you think we could work out Arsenal? I think we just talked about that. I would go for 4-3-3 as my choice, personally. Craig Tanner says VAR will take time to iron out any teething issues and to coincide with the rule changes, but absolutely the new handball rule is a complete joke. I think we agree on there. Lucas, oh Christ, I'm not saying that one, says great shoe as always, mate. Maybe you need to rethink your name there. Matt Hale says Xhaka hasn't got the mobility and although a good passer, still gives the ball away in dangerous areas. K-Man says prefer Willock, Guendouzi, Sabas midfield. As a midfield 3, definitely possible. Adadamola says that, oh Christ, my phone's going off like crazy. We need a hard-working midfield on Saturday to match Liverpool's workhorse or work rate. We definitely do. Craig Tanner says, given the money in football now, VAR is needed now more than ever. And going forward, we don't want human error to determine whether teams win championships or get relegated. Wrong decisions cost money. I think that's definitely something that VAR is going to be involved in moving forwards. I think that in terms of where we go with VAR, it's going to be a progress. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be improvements incrementally for the long term. But hopefully you will see some big change. Before I go, as I said at the beginning, if you've just tuned in, I did a video of Hugh Izzy on his channel. You can go check that out. Please do. It's just Hugh Izzy on YouTube. You can go find him there. And of course, please do go check out the Eyes of the Opposition episode I did with Stay Haw of Red Men TV yesterday, where we got the Liverpool perspective ahead of the game. Please do go check that out. And of course, if you're enjoying the content, first of all, give it a like, just so I know that you have enjoyed it. Leave a comment, because I really tried to read through as many of your comments as possible, even the ones where people are giving me lookalike suggestions, which has been interesting. I mean, on Hugh Izzy's channel, a personal highlight was being called a fat Eden Hazard. I mean, incredible. I can take the banter, so lookalikes is fine. But leave your comments on how you think the show's going. I think that some of the comments we've had have been really great. And to hit 15,000 subscribers, of course, much earlier. Slow down a bit because obviously transfer season is done, and that's really where the hype is. But I'm hoping you're going to stick around for the season and tune in with all the shows, of course. And obviously click those notifications. We've got our live chat. Everyone in the live chat always. It's very nice to talk to. Some really, really good content. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, people. I really, really appreciate your time taken out of your day to tune into the content. So click that little bell and you can join in with our live chats in the future. I'll see you again very, very soon, most likely tomorrow for another show. It's been a lot of fun. And as always, up the Arsenal.